as hard as it like felt, like we're like literally hanging on to the old version of ourselves so tightly, and we're just like, we can't let go. And it's almost like it's being pulled out of the grip of our hands until we're like, I just need to surrender.
Today's guest is Shannon Donohoe Simpson, a TEDx speaker, storyteller, and self-proclaimed joybringer. After walking through profound personal transformation, she helps women to be brave enough to choose joy regardless of what life throws at them. Through lived experience, she helps women reconnect with their inner power and step fully into authentic, wholehearted living. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Anita. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today.
It's my pleasure too. So with that said, what is one of the most courageous things you have done? Now, bearing in mind I know a bit about your story. Can you possibly name one?
That actually, when I thought about that question, I right away went to me standing on the stage in front of 500 people, actually just recently for International Women's Day, and sharing my story out loud of the sexual abuse that I experienced at the hands of my grandfather when I was a little girl. Yeah, like even as I say it right now, I can feel some emotion coming up, because it's one thing, to share that with a counselor or share it with a friend, but to be brave enough to get up on the stage in front of 500 people, or even just be here today to be on this podcast with you and share these stories, these secrets that we have kept inside us for so long. And we'll talk more about how that led to my cancer experience by keeping it inside me for so many years. But for sure, hands down, probably one of the bravest things I've ever done and the courageous things I've ever done is stand on that stage not too long ago and speak my secret and my story out loud.
And thank you so much for your honesty and being brave enough to do that, because it is brave. I mean, and the courage it takes. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your message centers around being brave enough to choose joy. What does choosing joy actually look like when life feels difficult? Because a lot of people find it difficult that they can't find that joy.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a big part of my journey, and I do believe that we teach what we need. I truly believe we teach what we need.
Yes.
For me, joy has not been my go-to. When you grow up with trauma and a lot of, you tend to go towards what you know. And so for me, relearning what it is to choose joy has been, Brene Brown even talks about this in her book. She says, vulnerability is the most vulnerable human emotion there is. And why? Because exactly what I just said, when we know trauma, when we know these difficult, even whether it's relationships or whatever, we go to that because that's what we know. And breaking those cycles can be uncomfortable, it can be difficult. I remember when I divorced my first husband and I was back dating again. And I remember meeting these incredible men and I was just like, they're too nice. Like, I can't take this. Like, it was uncomfortable for me. And it was crazy. My friends would be like, this is the nicest guy ever. And I'm like, and it just wasn't what I knew. Like, I knew the uncomfortable. I knew the difficult. So that's what felt good to me. And so it's relearning what joy is and being okay with that. And I work with a coach right now and she's like, Shannon, let things be easy. Because for most of my life, I've known hard. And so being easy feels uncomfortable when all we've known is hard. So it's interesting, like how even I think of I have many coping mechanisms in my past, one being alcohol, but the other being busy. And when I get uncomfortable, instead of just being with the discomfort, it's like, what can I do? What can I fill the space with so I actually don't have to be with these uncomfortable feelings? But what if we could just be okay with the discomfort and like sit in it? And then for me, so dancing is my new thing. It's
I
my
like
new thing. If I could show you my big open space kitchen here right now, it's ginormous. Just envision it. I put on my music and I move. I move the energy, whatever it is that needs to move through. And then I find myself on the other side with this ginormous smile on my face because I've not run from, I've not got busy, I've not drank alcohol, I've just been with it and allowed it to move through. And then on the other side, I'm like, oh, I feel pretty good. But I think part of it is just the awareness, the awareness of wanting to be busy, the awareness, like after I stopped drinking, my gosh, whenever I felt uncomfortable, all I wanted to do was grab my keys, get in my car, and drive to the alcohol store, drive to the liquor store. And I was like, wow, holy, like, this is fierce. Like the desire to get in that car and go get that bottle of wine was like, it was fierce. But then being able to just sit with that and go, oh, wow, that's interesting. And giving myself permission to not do that. But yeah, just noticing is been a huge part of my journey.
It's nothing outside of us. It's just sitting with it. It will pass. I mean, like they say, the feelings are like clouds. It will pass.
Yeah.
Sort of sit tight with it. And there never is anything to do. You have to allow. And that's where people find it so hard, because if they're not comfortable or they're not used to that, like you said, it's uncomfortable. And well done for not going to the liquor store.
Well, I might have gone a few times before I figured it out. But that's what we do, you know.
Yeah.
We go in these cycles until we're like, it's almost like we have to do it until we're complete.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know, and I feel like that's been for so many things in my life. You know, we keep doing the things. We change when staying the same becomes harder than change. And this is it. When we realize that what we're doing over and over and over, these patterns that aren't serving us, and then it just comes a day where we literally it comes to a head and we're like, I can't actually do this anymore. It's not serving me. It's not serving the people around me. It's not serving, you know, my kids, my family, my friends, my relationships, but ultimately me. And that's like a really humbling place to get to, where you're just like there in this moment and you're like, oh my gosh, I just I can't do this anymore.
Absolutely.
And it's like this moment where it's like, okay, I choose change. As hard as it like felt, like we're like literally hanging on to the old version of ourselves so tightly, and we're just like, we can't let go. And it's like, it's almost like it's being pulled out of the grip of our hands until we're like, I just need to surrender.
You often say that joy is a choice rather than a feeling. Can you share what led you to that realization?
There was a point in my life where I just really didn't want to be on this planet anymore. I felt like everything around me was falling apart, like everything in my family, in my marriage, with my kids. And I just felt so disconnected from myself. I just didn't even know what happiness felt like. Everything felt so dark. I ended up connecting quite soon after that with a woman that did medicine journeys. And I ended up doing a psilocybin journey. And that was a real deep dive into, and it was quite interesting because I thought, I didn't know actually quite what I was getting into. I thought that I was going to go and take this medicine and go off into the forest and frolic around. And I arrive at this woman's home and there's a sleeping bag on the floor and an eye mask. And she's like, oh, no, no, we're going inward. Like, you're going to get in the sleeping bag, you're putting on the mask, and we're going inward. And we're literally going to excavate what's going on inside. And that was a really huge transformational time in my life. And coming out of that, I remember for so many years, thinking that my kids were the ones that caused me all this anxiety and all this fear and all the things that were going on inside of me that were causing me to not experience joy in my life. I was pointing the finger at everyone else. And I just remember this huge download going, oh my God, it's me, not my kids, not my ex-husband, not my family, me. Because we actually don't have control of anything outside of ourselves. The only person that we can control is ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts here. And so this was the moment where I was like, my anxiety isn't caused by anybody else. My fear isn't caused by anybody else. It's here inside of me. And so that was the real pivotal moment in my life where I realized that joy isn't something that somebody else brings me. It's really humbling when you look in the mirror and realize that all these years you've been pointing the finger at everybody else, and that you realize that there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Journey in the sleeping bag with my eye patch on with nowhere to go.
You walked through illness, heartbreak, grief, and reinvention. How did those challenging experiences shape the woman you are today?
I couldn't understand why I needed to go through so many hard things. I remember wondering why God trusted me so much. They have that saying, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I just remember, this one moment where I was in the middle of chemo and my son was diagnosed with autism. My husband had 2 broken hands. And I just remember sitting at my kitchen table, like wondering how I was going to get through it. But in those moments, it's not a choice, because I had 2 beautiful young children that were 1. My twins were 1 at the time. And I just wanted to live. I wanted to live not only for my twins, but also for myself and my family. But it has made me an incredibly resilient woman, someone that has the ability to have a lot of compassion for other people. Because when you go through so many difficult things in your life that I've had the opportunity to experience, like so many of us experience, on the other side of that, it's almost like the polarity. Like when you go on the other side of the depths is the joy that you almost can't even explain. Like I remember being on the beach one day, and I do this thing called Toolbox Tuesday, and this last week was episode 204, and I realized your first episode was March of 2022, which was the same time I started my Toolbox Tuesday, March of 2022, and I love that. But I remember being on the beach and just talking to the camera, and I turned around and the sun just came right up over the horizon, and I literally burst into tears. And I couldn't stop myself. And I was like, this is why we're here. This is the moments that we're here. Like, because when you experience the depths of the depths, all of a sudden, the little things like these sunrises, this joy that all of a sudden we didn't see before, it's all around us. We just need to switch the lens that we're looking through. Because when we've been in that trauma lens and that woe is me lens and that victim lens, it's all we see. But then somehow on the other end, when we go through that place where we can't stay the same anymore, all of a sudden there's so much joy, there's so much beauty, there's so much this life has to offer us. And you can't even stop seeing the beauty around you. It's breathtaking every day.
Many women feel disconnected from themselves after years of putting everyone else first. How can they bring reconnection with their authentic selves?
I think my journey back to myself as I continue, like I don't claim that this is an ongoing journey, but just continuing to choose myself, saying no when I really want to say no. Really speaking my truth has been a huge part of coming back to my authentic self. Like so many times I would, like, even walking into a room when the last thing that I want to do is smile. The last thing that I want to do. And I put on this fake smile. Everything's fine. When people ask me now how I'm doing, and I'm actually not having a great day, because we're allowed to not have a great day. It's okay to not have a great day. We're all starving for the truth. And so that's been a huge part of me coming back to myself, my real, true, authentic self, is speaking my truth, like how I am in that moment. And it's so incredible when you speak your truth, and then all of a sudden someone looks at you and goes, oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. Because that's how I feel. I coined this saying that every time my heart breaks, more love can flow in and more love can flow out. But it's being brave enough to keep our heart open. So many times my heart has been broken and all I wanted to do is shut down. But when we shut down, then we can't allow, the love can't flow back in. So what if we could be brave enough to keep our heart open?
You describe yourself as a joy bringer. What does that mean to you, and how did you discover that this is part of your purpose?
I think I've always been a joy bringer. I just didn't always know it. Especially as women, we get all these, whether it's your parents or your teachers or society that, tells you how to be, who to be, how to speak, be seen and not heard, be a good little girl, do as you're told, don't speak your truth, don't rock the boat. And all of a sudden, your light goes out. Going through this divorce that I went through in the last 2 years, for sure, the hardest thing that I've ever done, hands down. I would honestly say I would do my chemo again over going through this divorce. I was in and out of the hospital for 8 days straight, not able to take food, not able to even take a sip of water in my body. And I was certain I was going to die. Going through the experience of a broken heart, like I literally felt like my heart was breaking in pieces. And there's nothing that you can do to fix that. Like with chemo, you can stop the chemo. With a broken heart, you just have to feel it. So on the other side of this divorce and the heartbreak, I realized, and it came from allowing myself to feel those feelings of heartbreak, and realizing that for so much of my life, that I have put everyone else first. I was raised in a house where, you take care of everybody else. You put everybody else first. And I love my parents, dearly. They're beautiful humans. And, this idea that, women are supposed to take care of everybody else and put everybody else first, I don't believe that anymore. Because I believe that if we fill our own cup and take care of ourselves, that we are way better for the other humans around us, way better. And so this journey of going through all of the things that I had the opportunity to go through in my life, whether it's through my cancer or supporting my son with autism or going through this divorce, but all these hard things, I realized that at the end of the day, if I was to die, because I've been that place where I've almost been on my deathbed, especially with my chemo, that at the end of the day, there's nobody else that chooses the joy in my life. There's nobody else that is going to show up and serve joy on a platter for me. Nobody's going to do that. I realized that I got to make changes in my life, that I want to be happy. I want to experience joy, and I don't want to feel guilty about it. And that's a big part of the journey, is the guilt. It is our God-given right to experience joy. No guilt, no shame, just here on this planet to experience all of it. And knowing that it will go up and down, and feeling the feelings. Like even when I did a big presentation just 2 weeks ago, it was so amazing. Like everyone in the crowd was feeling the emotions, and there was tears, and there was heartache, and there was joy, and there was all of the feelings. And I remember coming out of the event and saying to my girlfriend, "Oh my gosh, it was the most amazing night." And she goes, "Feel it all. Just feel every ounce of that amazingness." And before, I wouldn't allow myself to do that.
What role has community played in your healing and your personal growth journey?
It's been ginormous. Honestly, I've sat in so many beautiful women's circles. I've sat, I had the opportunity to sit in circles at the Callanish Society, which is an organization that facilitates week-long retreats for people with cancer. That was the moment. I remember it was 2009, and I was sitting in a circle at the Callanish Society, and my husband was at home with my twins that were 1, and I was going through this journey. And I remember sitting in this circle, and everybody started to open up and share how cancer had been impacting their lives. And all of a sudden in that moment, I realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm not actually here to heal the wounds. I'm not here to heal cancer. I'm actually here to heal the wounds that caused my cancer. And it's something so powerful when you are witnessed by other people speaking out loud what has been inside you for so many years. And that was the moment that I, for the very first time, spoke out loud the sexual abuse that I experienced at the hands of my grandfather. And that was such a, like, in a group setting. And that was such a pivotal moment for me. And I'll fast forward to an opportunity that I had just this last year, where I literally came out of a tent at a women's festival, and I had this download. And it was like fierce. I don't know if you've ever experienced like a fierce download before, where it's just like, oh, like knocks you, like, and I had to listen. And I've known for a long time that I wanted art painted across my mastectomy area. And there's a close girlfriend of mine that owns a company, West Coast Karma. And I just knew in that moment that needed to happen. And so I picked up the phone and I called my girlfriend Mel, who was going to do the art. And I called my girlfriend Meredith, I wanted to do the photography. And both of them said yes immediately. And literally 3 weeks later, I was in my girlfriend's backyard with 5 of my closest friends, with Mel painting jaguar art across my jaguar's kind of form of henna across my mastectomy area, and Meredith photographing it. Well, 5 of my closest friends are witnessing this, and I spoke my cancer story out loud from start to finish, from one of the very first times. And there's something so powerful about being witnessed when you go through these journeys. I mean, one thing to speak it out loud, one-on-one to a counselor, but to have women, and these beautiful women that are you've hand chosen to witness you in such a vulnerable moment, is just so incredibly healing. I mean, I don't know that I would have spoken my story of sexual abuse out loud had this woman in the circle before me, and I speak of her all the time in my talks, had she not spoken out loud about her sexual abuse. And I remember the next book that I read was by Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No. And that huge connection between when we hold all of these secrets and don't speak our truth inside of our physical body, and how that manifests into physical ailment. And we know Louise Hay. I mean, that's what she speaks about, when she talks about her book, Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. And she's connected every single body part to something that is emotional within us. And it's so incredible how she's been able to do that. And there's so much truth to it. Like, I had to take a year off of dragon boating because both of my shoulders were in so much pain, because I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. And I speak about this as well. Like, I had my right foot for over a year, it was in so much pain. And I got to this moment where I was 3 weeks away from hiking the West Coast Trail, which is a huge trail here on Vancouver Island. It's 7 days and 6 nights. And you're out in the middle of the wilderness, and you're going to be carrying, like, my backpack was 41 pounds. And I'm not a big person. I'm just over 100 pounds. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And I remember reaching out to this woman, and I'd never worked with her before, but I was desperate. I was like, I want to get on this trail. And she did energy work and massage. And 2 days later, I was on her massage table, and I remember her pausing and looking at me, and she went, Shannon, you're full of resentment. And I was like, oh, it was that moment where I was like, I have been putting everyone else first. I've been doing everything for everyone else. And then I remember that week, 2 other practitioners literally said the exact same thing to me. And I went into this fellow that did myofascial release massage. And I was like, Daryl, my foot is still so unhappy. And he looked at me and he went, Shannon, is it your foot that's unhappy, or you that's unhappy? And I was like, oh. And I just remember bawling my eyes out. And I released so much emotion. Like, we had pillows that I was putting over my face. Like, there was screaming, there was yelling, there was crying, there was sobbing. And I came out of that appointment, and I hiked that West Coast Trail 3 weeks later with no pain in my foot, none.
So how do we keep our hearts open after disappointment, loss, or betrayal?
For me, it's just continuing to be brave enough. Brave enough. And you talk a lot about courage and being brave. And I think for a big part of it for me is just continuing to surround myself with beautiful people that aren't afraid of hard conversations. Having, like, beautiful women in my life. And just being brave enough every day to continue to know that vulnerability is not something to shy away from.
Mm.
It's something to lean into. You know, again, I love the work of Brene Brown, and she talks so much about vulnerability. And I've been told over and over that vulnerability is my superpower. And for me, that's how I continue to lean in, is every day just wanting to show up and being brave enough. And brave enough is being my authentic self. And if that means that today I'm having a hard day and maybe some tears need to flow, or maybe I'm really like angry and someone's really upset me, then maybe I'm going in my kitchen and I'm turning on some really good music and I'm dancing that out. I actually have a little trampoline in my kitchen too. And trampolines are really good to like really shake it off, like really
Mm-hmm.
shake it off. My yoga instructor for years, she talks about shaking out the nails.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a great visual when you literally, she's like, imagine the nails are all the things that people ever said to you, ever did to you, how you felt hurt, or maybe you took on something that wasn't yours. And you literally visualize yourself either on the dance floor or on that trampoline or running through the forest, whatever it is that you do to move that energy out or shake out those nails. That's how I keep coming back to the joy. That's how I keep showing up.
So, what would you say to someone who feels stuck in survival mode and can't imagine feeling joy again?
Go slow. Love yourself. I remember being in that place, having the being really lucky to have some really beautiful women around me. But surround yourself with beautiful people and don't be afraid to ask for help. The unknown can feel so scary, but on the other side of the unknown is something incredibly beautiful. And so being in that place, it can feel really overwhelming, but just giving ourselves permission to go slow and fill our cup and know that when we put, like they say, you know, we put on the oxygen mask first in the plane, it's the best visual because honestly, we can't help anybody else unless we help ourselves. And so giving, you know, women or anyone permission to just love themselves and go slow and be compassionate with ourselves. And that every time we show up and trust the unknown and take that courageous step forward, you know, I think about this moment where I was literally sitting in this blue chair and this is like the total story. I was sitting in this blue chair and I remember looking at my front door and I'm like, when is courage going to show up? Like when?
Mm.
And I realized in that moment that courage isn't showing up. It's me needing to get out of the chair and trust that all these little small steps forward is how we build courage. Courage doesn't come in a moment. Courage comes with these little small steps forward. So what I would say to that person is one small step. It's all it is. And I still say that to myself too, because as I'm stepping into my career of speaking and all the incredible things that are unfolding in my life, each level up is still requires more courage. Like it doesn't end. Like, I don't know about you, but I want to continue to live my best life ever, like always. And that means stepping into the unknown, continuing to keep my heart open, continuing to be courageous, even when I feel so uncomfortable. But that's this life. That's living. Yeah.
You are a TEDx speaker and storyteller. Why do you believe sharing our stories is so powerful?
I mean, I think I've spoken to this already,
Yes, I believe you
but
have.
honestly, when we are brave enough to speak our stories out loud, it gives other people permission to do the very same.
Mm.
I spoke at a women's group about 2 months ago, and It wasn't long after I shared my story on International Women's Day in front of 500 people. This was a smaller group, about 60 women. And that next day, I had a woman reach out to me via email and share a part of her story that she had never spoken out loud ever before. And I thought to myself, this is why I do this. This is why I speak. This is why I share my story, because she doesn't have to hold that anymore. She got to say it out loud. It's not stuck inside her body anymore, and somebody else is holding that with her, for her, you know? And how beautiful is it that we're not meant to hold all these things on our own. We're meant to do this together. Mm-hmm. And when we speak our stories and realize that we're not alone, all of a sudden the world feels a lot smaller, a lot more intimate, a lot safer. And all of a sudden we're able to show up with more courage, step more into the unknown, be brave enough to choose joy. It's this ripple effect.
So what is one misconception people have about joy?
I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, joy was something that I felt made other people uncomfortable. So I'll give you an example. When I go into a room and I am quite joyful. I'm living the joy. And when other people are not in that space yet, I can feel the energy of the other, particularly women, that are maybe uncomfortable with my joy because they're not comfortable with their joy yet. Mm-hmm. And the old version of me would want to shut down and meet them there. And the new version of me is, no, I'm shining bright, and I'm going to continue to shine bright so I can continue to give you permission to shine your joy. Being joyful, I think a lot of people, there's this sense of, oh, she's joyful. Oh my God, look at her. She's, there's almost this judgment. Mm-hmm. But the judgment it's nothing to do with me. It's their own stuff. And I can only say this because I've been that person. I've been that person pointing the finger. Oh, look at her. Look at the good life she's living. Oh my goodness. But what if I could, instead of looking at her and judge, what if I could know that the amazing things that are within her that I see are actually the things that I want in my life? What a beautiful turnaround.
What a beautiful mirror, isn't it? A mirror is held up.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I speak to this in all of my presentations. My 3 pillars are authenticity, boundaries, and that everyone is our mirror. And living our authentic lives and being true to ourselves is what we're here to do. It's what we're meant to be. No one else. Because there's nobody else better than ourselves. Because being everybody else is really boring. We're meant to be ourselves. But we can't be ourselves if we don't have boundaries and we're letting everybody step all over us or tell us how to be. And we sure can't be ourselves if we're not willing to look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. If we're not brave enough to own what's ours. If we're not brave enough to realize that there's 3 fingers pointing back at us and that the ripple effect starts here, that there's nobody else outside there that we need to fix or change, only ourselves to understand.
If someone listening today is facing a major life transition, what would you want them to know?
It's going to be okay. And on the other side of hard is something so incredibly beautiful. I remember the very beginning of when I went through my divorce 2 years ago, and I felt like I was going to die. Like the depths of grief that was in my soul and in my heart, I didn't know that I was going to be able to get on the other side. Part of my one of the biggest things that my takeaway was is that it's okay to ask for help. You know, one of my TEDx coaches, incredible human, he shared this story with me one day where he was speaking to an audience, and he said, how many people like to help their friends and their family? And everybody raised their hands. And then he asked, how many people like to ask for help? Hardly anybody put their hand up.
Yes.
And he's like, but listen, if you all know that you all like to help each other, and why are we so afraid to ask for help? Why? And so in those moments of depths, and when you're in that place, be brave enough to ask for help, because we all want to help each other. Whether that's someone to cry on their shoulder, whether it's someone to go for a walk with, whether it's someone to bring you a meal, whether it's someone to just take you out for a coffee to change the scenery, like whatever it is that you need, be brave enough to ask for help. And that doesn't come easy for some of us. But part of my healing journey has been learning to ask for help.
That's so beautiful. And we all are a bit like that. So, yes. But people like helping people.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
If there was one key takeaway you want every listener to walk away with today, what would it be?
Trust the unknown. I have spent my whole life afraid of the unknown, afraid of what's on the other side. My TED Talk, The Gift of Failure, How Discomfort Shapes Success. I spent so much of my life avoiding discomfort. I mean, even down to the little things. When I would leave the house with my kids when they were little, I'd have to cut the apples up perfectly, just to have that control. Just letting go and surrendering to the unknown, and trusting that on the other side, if we fail, if we make a mistake, it's okay, because that's how we grow. That's how we become who we are. Like, I think of all the hard things that I've been through in my life, which have been many, but it's brought me to this moment right here, right now with you. It's brought me to this moment. So trusting the unknown, and that believing in ourselves that we can do hard things. We can do hard things.
It's brilliant. Yes. So, Shannon, where can the listeners find you online and learn more about your work?
Well, I'm on all the social platforms. So you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You can also find me at shannondonohoesimpson.com, which is my website. And you can check me out on YouTube as well and follow me there, where all my Toolbox Tuesday videos are. And this week was episode 204. So I have lots incredible wisdom that I have shared along my journey, as you have, Anita. And yeah, I would love to connect with anybody that resonates with this message today. Just don't be afraid to reach out. I'd love to hear from you.
So, listeners, please do connect with Shannon, and all the links are in the show notes, and have a conversation with her and see what she's up to by following her on social media.
Thank you so much, Anita, for having me today. This has been such an amazing, amazing podcast, an amazing conversation.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, your stories with us today. By doing so, you've impacted so many people and truly made a difference. I really want to acknowledge your courage, your openness, and the light you bring to others. Shannon Donohoe Simpson.
Thank you so much, Anita.
My pleasure. We are all about Create the Courage to Be Fearless podcast. What is your definition of courage?
Oh, my definition of courage is taking small steps every single day. Just being brave enough every day to show up, step into the unknown, and taking small steps forward. Courage isn't one moment. It's every day showing up, being brave enough